In October 2020, we made history at the Southmorton Boxing Club by staging the world's first behind-closed-doors white-collar boxing show. We got over 10,000 views on the night across 103 countries. Now we're bringing the live rumble back, bigger and better than before. Follow the fighters in the build-up and vote on the night for your favourites. See all the thrills, spills and skills from the best in white-collar boxing, live and free at the KO Cup. Okay, Peter, so some interesting movements on the boxing scene this week. I'm going to talk about the fight that I think is going to be mandated this week, or the WBOs look like they're going to mandate for the interim title, Joyce against Alexander Usyk, which we did predict was going to happen. It was a logical fight for both men. And we'll talk a bit about the background, why it's happening, what it means for the heavyweight scene, and what the likely outcome is going to be. But I mean, also there were some interesting movements this week because Caleb Truax boxed Caleb Plant defending his IBF title against Truax, who was the mandatory, a shutout decision for Plant, which interestingly enough leaves him free now. He's got his mandatory for the next 6 months to fight whoever he wants, and we know who he wants to fight. So, Canelo is basically saying to Canelo, look, I'm there for it. We can make the fight whenever you want. Although, interestingly enough, it looks like Billy Joe Saunders, another fight I expect to be announced this week, and we predicted this a few weeks ago. Looks like Billy Joe Saunders is the front runner for that Cinco de Mayo date that Canelo always boxes on. So it looks like Billy Joe Saunders will be defending his WBO title on that Cinco de Mayo weekend against Canelo. We expect that to be confirmed this week. But coming back to the Joyce Usyk fight again, after Joyce beat Dubois, we did say we thought this was a logical fight, but some people said, well, look, you got to remember Usyk is the WBO #1 mandatory. He has been for some time. Joshua being the WBO champion, he's going to sit on his mandatory position and wait for that fight to come to pass. So there needed to be a bit of negotiation in the sense that he's saying, well, what is in it for him fighting Joyce other than maybe the experience of fighting a big heavyweight? So we need to square the circle there. The other thing we've talked about a lot is the WBO were not going to enforce their clauses and strip Joshua of his WBO title and hand it to Usyk as their, as their articles state they need to, because they want to be part of this mega fight, which inches closer by the day, it seems. The Fury Joshua mega fight, the undisputed fight. For all the belts, and even though Eddie Hearn has said, look, this fight doesn't need belts, we could tell the belts to go whistle, and we could just have this fight because everybody knows these two are the best in the world. That's true, but having that undisputed tag on it, and they can say a historic fight. For the first time ever, all 4 heavyweight belts have been contested in one fight. So that's what they want to happen. And as we said, the sanctioning bodies work on commission. They work on a percentage. They want a percentage of this mega purse, what's probably going to be the richest fight in boxing history, which we expect to be announced again in the next week or so. Probably Saudi Arabia with huge purses for both fighters and so on. And it's going to be amazing. And it's going to be a 2-fight deal. So the first fight happening in May, June, the second fight happening later in the year. So the WBO want to be part of that, but they need to square the circle with this Usyk thing. So what they've now said is they're going to mandate Joyce and Usyk. Well, they haven't said it, but they're going to say it this week, I expect. They're going to mandate Joyce and Usyk to box for the interim WBO title. Now, for people not familiar with the alphabet soup and their rules, what that means is that the interim title will be contested, meaning that the winner of that fight, the winner of Joyce Usyk, will have to fight the WBO champion in Anthony Joshua at the moment, and maybe Tyson Fury. We don't know the outcome of that fight within some specified timescale. Now, in reality, what will happen is Joshua and Fury will fight, and the winner of the Joyce Usyk fight will be the interim champion, and the WBO will say, unless you fight the winner of this fight next, we will strip you of your belt. The winner of Fury Joshua will jettison the WBO belt because they don't want it. They won't be forced down that route. And then, so the winner of Joyce Usyk will become the WBO champion, will have the WBO belt, and then will be able to shout from the sidelines while Joshua and Fury go on and continue their rivalry, saying, look, I'm over here, I'm an alternative champion, you're not the undisputed champion until you beat me. And so the marketing will go into full force again, and it puts that person in a stronger position to mandate for that big money fight against the undisputed champion. So that's the way it's going to fall out. So we expect the WBO to say that the interim championship will be contested between Usyk and Joyce in the first quarter of 2021. So that's a really interesting fight. It's a great fight, and I say that will become part of the Fury Joshua roadshow. But that's the way it's going to fall out with the alphabet people at the moment. Now, how is that fight actually going to play out? That's the interesting thing. Now, we all know that Usyk basically didn't put a foot wrong at cruiserweight. He was unbelievable. He barely lost a round. He unified the title. He stepped up to heavyweight. And as we've talked about before, for somebody whose career has had such a stellar trajectory throughout the amateurs and throughout the pros, it kind of stalled. Obviously, it wasn't helped by the pandemic, but he was so busy as an amateur, over 300 amateur fights. He was so busy as a pro, unifying the cruiserweight division, winning his first title in, I think, 10 fights, unifying in 14 fights, winning the Muhammad Ali trophy, absolutely stellar. But he stalled a bit at heavyweight. And let's be honest, for somebody with that pedigree, who we're expecting to emulate Evander Holyfield, really, in that step from the cruiserweights to the heavyweights, he hasn't set the world alight. He took some punishment against Chaz Witherspoon, his first fight at heavyweight, before winning that fight by stoppage. Then he fought Derek Chisora, and he won a 12-round decision. But he didn't have it all his own way. Chisora had his moments, and let's not forget Chisora is a gatekeeper. He's especially now, he's a gatekeeper heavyweight. Usyk was very much expected to win, and also let's not forget. Chisora and Witherspoon are kind of short heavyweights. They're not the giants that dominate the division at the moment, like Joshua and Fury, and like Joyce. So, it's going to be an interesting call for Usyk, even though he's going to be the favourite because of his pedigree stepping into this fight against Joyce. And he has beaten Joyce in the amateurs in 2013, over 5 rounds in the WSB series. But, I think Joyce was relatively inexperienced then compared to Usyk in terms of their amateur trajectory, because Joyce did start boxing very late. Now they're both really, I think, at the same level in terms of seasoning as pros. So, and arguably Joyce has the better resume of fighters that he's fought, especially at heavyweight, than Usyk. So we're going to see, I think it makes it an interesting fight. Even though Usyk is the favourite, I think, Joyce and Usyk also needs to prove in a way, because he's clamoring on the door and saying, I need to fight the winner of Joshua, Fury. I'm the WBO mandatory, etc., etc. Well, you're going into a fight against one of two very experienced heavyweights, with 2 heavyweight fights on your resume against Derek Chisora and Chaz Witherspoon. It's not great. It doesn't look great. People aren't going to back you on that basis. So I think Usyk needs Joyce. He needs to say, here's a genuine, huge 6'5" heavyweight, and I've beaten him. Therefore, I can beat. That's my argument, that I can beat Joshua, I can beat Fury. So I think there is a lot in it for Usyk as well. So it kind of makes sense, and the winner becoming the interim WBO champion. Joyce, Joyce is on form. You've got to say that. He has beaten some decent names at heavyweight. I mean, we saw what happened with Dubois. Again, he went, and he is the underdog there. And, he was very disciplined in that fight, very, very good with the jab, that lovely long jab. If he can find his range on Usyk with that, that's going to cause some problems against the shorter heavyweight. So, and I just think at heavyweight at the moment, Joyce is on form, maybe Usyk's not. And I think it makes for a really interesting fight. I do think Usyk will be installed as the favourite, but I don't think that will bother Joyce at all. He'll see it as a bit of a revenge for 2013. He'll see it as being the much bigger, much stronger guy. Yes, against maybe a better skill set from Usyk, but that makes it for a really interesting fight. Usyk a chance to really stake his claim. Joyce, whoever wins this is going to be very much, the first in line for the winner of Fury Joshua, the eventual winner of the 2-fight deal of Fury Joshua. So, there's a lot to play for. This is a good fight. It's a great fight. They'll make some money out of this. But, it's all to play for in the next fight, really, for the winner. And, I think it's a wide open fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight. So, really excited about this. It will give a bit more colour to the heavyweight landscape while we wait for the big one to arrive. So, yeah, I'm all for it. A great thing to look forward to in the next few months. Like I say, a 50-50 fight, a really interesting pitting of, size and strength, and then that iron jaw that Joyce has got against skill and speed, and pedigree in Usyk. So it's a great fight to look forward to. I expect it to be confirmed this week. And then, like I say, all the tectonic plates of the heavyweight boxing world are shifting a little bit to come to the big one that we need to see happen, and hopefully that will be announced this week as well. So exciting times at the start of 2021, Peter. There's some great fights out there being made, and I'm really looking forward to it.